Welcome back. Super Bowl is here.
Holy crap.
It's here. The most exciting and most depressing time of the year for me.
Oh, it's the most depressing time for me. I mean, my team ain't in it, but...
Oh, the team isn't in it, but hey, Sundays are going to suck starting next week. Super Bowl's in a few days. You know, you have the Indianapolis Colts and the New Orleans Saints.
Let me tell you something right now. I'm just going to say this. Me and Mike got the hockey game going on in the background, so you might see me paying attention over there, so I'm sorry for the distraction. But, hey, we're big sports fans. We're going to watch our games. Mike, Super Bowl 2010, we got a lot to talk about. Let's go.
You don't expect it, but the two #1 seeds actually made it for the first time since the Bills and Cowboys played in the early 90s.
I couldn't believe it.
Because every year they're like home field advantage, this is the team to beat, and then they go down. But now,
I was surprised.
But now I was surprised that both teams actually got there. The Colts beat the Jets 30-17, and the Saints, of course, beat the Vikings in a classic in overtime, 31-28.
You know, when it came to the Jets, I was surprised how well they did.
Yes.
You know, like everyone else in the world. But when it came to the championship game, they did in the first half. They gave the Colts their money's worth, so they did do good. But as projected, they did lose. But you know, I guess there's a promising future for that team. But I was surprised for the NFC side that teams like the Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, other teams including Green Bay, Arizona, just the way they played in the playoffs.
The NFC was a real toss-up because the two top teams, Saints and Vikings, were both kind of losing their hot streak, whereas Dallas and Arizona and Green Bay were some of the hottest teams in football.
And that championship game for the Saints and Vikings was a hell of an offensive game, but realistically, a terrible defensive game, if you ask me. I mean, the Brett Favre and the Vikings turned the ball over so many times.
You know what? It wasn't. You know what you can say. Favre threw the interception with 19 seconds left. Where he clearly had a path to run to the outside, but you know what? Adrian Peterson fumbled 3 times.
Yep.
That was Bernard Marion fumbled, Percy Harvin fumbled. And you can't even say all these turnovers, but the Saints defense didn't even barely cause them. They would just lay the football on the ground, and Saints would be smart enough to pick it up.
Yep. And I'm not a total believer of the Saints, and I look at their defense, and I can't imagine what actual analysts would say their defense is amazing.
The Saints, no. They're not.
Me and you will say that, but analysts all over the nation think their defense is amazing. I mean, no offense, but I go to one of our best sources, ProFootballTalk.com. Mike Florio thinks the Saints defense is one of the best he's ever seen. It's like, how do you say that? The defense gives up so many points a game. Just because their offense scores 50 points a game, you can't forget about the defense giving up 30 points a game. And that's when you go into Miami, play the Colts, you can't project Indianapolis keeping up with points against that defense, because these two offenses are phenomenal, but I do believe Indianapolis has the advantage when it comes to defense.
Absolutely, even with all the injuries, including, just name a few. Bob Sanders, he went down for the season.
Yeah, that was big. But hey,
Sanders probably one of their bigger injuries.
Another guy, Antoine Bethea.
Antoine Bethea, Melvin Boyd, Gerard Powers even, he didn't play. That actually helped the Jets a little bit in the championship, but of course it didn't matter. Joseph Adai, who got hurt in the AFC championship game.
Yeah.
And they have Donald Brown, he's there anyway. Dallas Clark, just everyone's sick. And you know what? It's a Super Bowl. Everyone most likely is going to play, unless you got if you can walk, you can play. It's as simple as that. It's a Super Bowl that you're playing.
Well,
the man who I think will play but may not, Dwight Freeney.
That's
number 93 of the Indianapolis team.
Isn't that sad? You make it to the biggest picture for the whole year in any sport. It's the Super Bowl, and to think you might have to sit with a high ankle sprain. Mild.
And I'll say it's a big.
3.
You can almost compare it to when Terrell Owens played, when the Eagles made the Super Bowl. He pretty much put his career on the line to play the Super Bowl, and I do give him credit for that, as much of an ass as he can be. You know what? When it came down to it, he played the important games.
Yes.
But big difference between playing a wide receiver and a defensive end, clearly, because a defensive end, your ankle, especially for someone like Dwight Freeney, who's been pretty much made a career
off spin move,
exactly off the spin move. If you take that away with the Saints offense already dominant, you give Drew Brees an extra second to throw the ball, he's going to burn you every time.
I do think guys will step up and fill the position well, like they have before. Also, you can't forget about Robert Mathis on the other side. So I mean, of course, that's not going to be a forgotten statement. But what I'm looking at now is looking at the Colts injury report. Doesn't this remind you of the Patriots at all? I mean, don't you remember the Patriots would go through all the injury report? Tom Brady has been on the injury report for like the last 4 years or something like that.
Probably with a shoulder injury or something like that. Now it's just worse. But
I think it's just like, to maybe scare teams. I mean, you got Dallas Clark, like you said, on there with an illness. Antoine Bethea, back from. Are these guys really hurt? It just might be to say, oh, well, maybe we don't have to worry about them, so maybe we could run this package against them and hope to God that Antoine Bethea might not be in there, because let me tell you something. When they lost Bob Sanders, I don't think anyone in that defensive backfield shined more than Antoine Bethea. I mean, he's very good, but you're overshadowed by a guy like Bob Sanders. Not overshadowed, you're not overlooked by your team. Of course.
By the public, you are.
But then that's what makes a great free safety and great strong safety in this league, is to have a guy like Antoine Bethea and Bob Sanders. But let's talk about the Saints real quick. You heard about earlier in the week Greg Williams saying... Greg
Williams was running his mouth all week. Your defense isn't that good.
Rex Ryan much?
Your defense isn't that good. You need to shut your mouth. Stop going on radio shows and proclaiming your defense is the best, because Peyton Manning's gonna light you up. Your offense is what's gonna win you the Super Bowl, not your defense.
Darren Sharper, let me tell you something, buddy. You are nothing special. So what? You pick off a guy 10 times, but how many yards you give up receiving? I mean, come on. You're nothing special anymore. Okay, granted, you picked off Eli 3 or 4 times, and you returned 2 of them for touchdowns.
You know what? But
that's Eli. This is Peyton. Even though I love Eli, Peyton's a total different QB, and he will outsmart you in every single way, and you're going to stand there shocked.
Peyton Manning, it took him a half to adjust, but every time the Jets blitzed, Peyton got the ball off almost a second or two before the Jets even got there. And that's how you pick apart a defense. If you can pick apart the Jets defense for all those points that the Colts ended up putting up from the end of the first half into the second half, then you know what? The Saints are going to go down hard.
Well, this is what
it's going to be up to Drew Brees and that non-stop, high-powered offense to take down the Colts. And I don't know if they can do it.
Well, this is what Greg Williams said about Peyton. We're going to have to get in there and knock him around. Jay Glazer of Fox Sports reported later that Sean Payton sent Williams a jar of peanut butter, crackers, and a jar of sand, which he says are all tools to keep Williams' mouth shut. This guy, doesn't he? Is he trying to be like a Rex Ryan in this league or something like that? I mean, does he not think?
At least Rex Ryan, kind of backed up his shit talk a little bit.
I mean, yeah, he walked the walk. I mean, all the way into the AFC Championship. I mean, you got to remember, Rex Ryan dealt with some serious injuries with some of his players. So I mean, imagine having
went down.
Imagine another 2 years on Mark Sanchez with experience. That team could be very dangerous. I mean, probably 2 years from now they won't have Thomas Jones, but we're not talking about them. This is Super Bowl. We are
underway. Super Bowl 44 is this Sunday. We got a lot more to talk about,
but we got to take a second break.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, obviously our picks are coming up. You don't want to miss that. You got to know who we're going to pick.
You got to know.